title that I came up with. Depends on your point of view. Will you pray with me? Gracious and holy God, we give you thanks and praise, especially this Thanksgiving week. We thank you for being with us, and we thank you, God, as we struggle to understand. And we hope to find redemption in your word. Amen. Of the four Gospels, Matthew is the angry one. There's weeping and gnashing of teeth. Does Matthew have a right to be angry? Well, yeah. He's angry because his people are oppressed by another people. Because unfairness and injustice surrounds him. Because people cheat and lie, and there's plenty of fake news. His world, there's violence at every turn. Matthew, as much as he has learned so much from Jesus, he needs to believe in a righteous God, a just God, a judging God, a God who will punish the evildoers. And that's what we see in this parable. Now, let's situate this. Where are we in Matthew? This is the second of three really, really, really tough parables. You remember last week, 5 of the 10 bridesmaids were locked out of the kingdom. They weren't ready. They were locked out for eternity. That's harsh. So to Matthew, there is justice, and there's also stepping up. There are consequences to not stepping up. So let's clarify just a couple things. This is not a play on words where you've probably heard that think about talents as the gifts that God has given you inherently. Has anybody heard that sermon preached? Yeah. No, it's about money. It's money, friends. So you've got this in front of you. Money. That's all it's about. So before I continue with my thoughts, I wanted to ask you yours. Who has never heard this parable before? Okay, good. I was afraid half of you would do this. Okay, so you've heard this parable before. So, let me ask you a question. How many of you consider that the master represents God? Okay, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Yeah. Isn't that what we're taught? Yes? Yeah. Okay. So you get the words in front of you. And I want you to think about who God is for you. And if that represents God, I want you to look at verse 24. Master, I knew that you were a harsh man. Okay, so does anybody else have a problem with who your relationship is with God right now? That's not my God. Right? You get it? So right there is a dissonance. This parable is full of dissonance. By the way, I'm not going to solve it for you. That's the joy of parables, is we don't ever solve them. We wrestle with them and struggle with them, and we ask ourselves questions. So if anybody's hoping, why don't you just finish and tell us the answer? That ain't never going to happen, so let's keep going. You were harsh. What else? Harsh man, reaping where you did not sow. Is that your God? No. Gathering where you didn't scatter seed? Is that your God? Anybody? Right. So see how we've always been taught in these parables, this person is God, and this person is me, this person is Jesus. There's a dissonance. It's just not fitting. So, how would you describe this master figure? A boss. A bossy boss. Greedy. Thank you. Bringing it back to money. Greedy, and he uses people.
Old Testament God.
Oh, good one. The Old Testament God. Now, some of us who have been peeling away the secrets of the Old Testament know that the good God's back there too. But yes, church, the 10 minutes of sermon that you get can't totally unwrap what a loving God does exist in the Old Testament, but there's lots of weeping and gnashing of teeth and cruel God figure. Yes. Okay. How do you describe those first two slaves? If you stick with your traditional understanding. Obedient. Smart.
Afraid.
Brave.
Afraid.
The first two were afraid? Oh, that's good. Yeah. Industrious? Resourceful? Yeah? What? Greedy. Yeah? Bless you. Now, what about that third slave? I'm sorry? There you go. So, she just said rebellious. And I'd like to open the door for a new interpretation that's happening around this parable. There's a new interpretation by biblical scholars in the last maybe 10 years, since I got out of school. Because when I got out of school, I learned all about the Old Testament God and that whole traditional thing. But maybe he's the brave one. Maybe he's the rebellious one. The world that Matthew lived in, it was corrupt. It was horrifically corrupt. And so the first two slaves went along with the corruption. He said, no, I am not going to participate in your corruption. Now, isn't that fascinating? It says he's afraid. Do you think he has reason to be afraid? Yes. Not using what he's given. He has reason to be afraid. Now, different ministers over the years have used this parable to justify or explain a particular point of view. This won't surprise you. This is the traditional point of view, saying that you're not supposed to just sit there. You're supposed to do something. You're supposed to be like slave 1 and 2. You're given money, so do something with it. Martin Luther, during the Reformation, used this parable to say just that. Don't just sit there. Do something. His famous quote, Martin Luther, sin boldly. And he used this parable to explain that. Then, during his namesake, during the Civil Rights Movement, when moderate white pastors would sit and avoid controversy, Martin Luther King wrote from the Birmingham jail an explanation of this text and called them out. Don't be that third slave. Don't be complicit. Don't participate in that. The thing about God and the thing about the Hebrew language, because I hope this doesn't shock you, the Bible wasn't written in English. Okay? We good? You good? Bill, you going to be okay? I know. So, in the original Hebrew, the word for justice was the word for judgment. So yes, that Old Testament God seems judgy. For justice sake. So if we kind of take some of our modern theology about the good and gracious God with justice, then we come up with a God that knows what we need. And so then the question becomes, what are we afraid of? What are we afraid of? Are we complicit? Do we participate? Before I got to that newer interpretation, and I was working the traditional representation of this parable, I found a story, and then I found that new information, and then I'm like, well, now I can't tell the story now, because that story totally defeats this new interpretation. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. God uses that stuff. God uses our thought, our thinking, to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, mind, soul, and strength. We're thinking. So I think you can do this. I think you can take this story about a little girl. She was 10. This is a true story. She was 10 in the year 1876. She was put into a poorhouse for children, not far from here. Tewksbury Alms House in Massachusetts. Her mother had died and her father had deserted her. Her aunt and her uncle found her too difficult to handle because she had a bad disposition, a violent temper, and this was partially because she was blind. She was partially blind. No one wanted her. She was a wild child. Sometimes they even had to tie her down. In this home, and they use the word inmate, which maybe it's because of the year, but that gave me chills. But there was another person named Maggie. Maggie cared for the little girl, talked to her, fed her. Even when the little girl would throw food back at her, or throw herself on the floor, or curse, or rebel, Maggie was a Christian. And out of her conviction, she was determined to love that little, dirty, unkept, spiteful, unloving child. It wasn't easy, but slowly she got free of the child. You see, Maggie had been abandoned too, so she knew what it was like. So soon the little girl responded. And then Maggie told her about a school for the blind. And so the child went there. And she actually discovered that her poor eyesight could be corrected. So the state paid for some operations. She got partial sight back. She was able to go to school. She graduated from school when she was 20. Having been blind for so long, she talked to the director of the school where she wanted to work, and said she wanted to work with blind and difficult children. And so they found the perfect blind, difficult child in Alabama, who was not only blind, but deaf. Some of you know. Yeah. So Annie Sullivan went to Tuscumbia, Alabama, to unlock the door of Helen Kettler's dark prison and to set her free. One human being, in the name of Christ, helping another human being. That's how God's kingdom comes, through small acts of kindness. Thanks be to God.